Hi guys, it's Jack from the Forex Diaries. I'm with Joanna Leptou, Executive Director of Admirals. Joanna, thank you for coming in.
Hi Jack, welcome you here into our offices.
Good to see you, thank you. So I want to start with a little bit about you first, Joanna, from your background and how you got into the industry. So I know your background was in sociology and criminology. You studied that at university. So How on earth did you fall into the Forex industry?
It's a very long story in general, but we all remember the recession of the economy and the huge financial crisis. So by the time that I finalized my studies and I came back to Cyprus, it was right after the bailout. So, everything was dead end in Cyprus. I managed at the beginning to get a partial contract with a municipality, working as a sociologist, doing the research in the community, helping also to the afternoon caring homes. However, that contract ended, they didn't have the budget to renew, and therefore I started looking for a job, I was applying for receptionist, for secretary, but I was overqualified for such positions. I was rejected non-stop due to the CV and so on. And then I decided that while I was searching, I saw the Forex industry. I didn't know what is that. So I started looking around, doing Google search, checking what is this. At the beginning I was panicking because it wasn't my field, especially economy and financials. And then I decided that I will go to a course to see what it is, and I did it. Then I managed a couple of interviews and I started from sales department for a few months at least. I worked for another, let's say, 6 months in sales, and then they transferred me to build, because it was a startup at the time, to build the customer support. So I was the head and I started hiring people, that they saw that I had these managerial skills even though that I was young. I built my own team. I was managing. I was also operational officer in the meantime. So I was running all the systems, the CRMs, assigning clients to the sales department, communicating with clients, handling complaints, and so on. Inquiries that were coming, and I was working also closely with back office department and sales, compliance, and so on. So I was a little bit in the middle. Then years after, I decided that I will take the CySEC examination. I was tired of customer support. I wanted to elevate my career. So I said, okay, so I will take the CySEC Advance. A lot of people at the time, they were telling me, don't be afraid if you don't pass. Because the majority of the people, they don't pass the examination. And I was like, watch me.
You showed them.
Yeah, watch me. You will see that I will pass on the first time. The most important is to believe to yourself and your skills and your brain, So I believed in me. I believed that I will pass. That was I didn't take any course at all. I studied alone, 1 month, non-stop. I read the whole textbook again and again. I was Google searching all the questions that I had, because back then we didn't have ChatGPT. So I was searching, reading, watching videos, explaining all this stuff. And I took the examination. I passed from the first time. And then I got the position in compliance. And it was funny because they didn't have any head of compliance, so they appointed me. I had no idea of compliance. The only things that I was dealing with, it was the procedural, the policies.
So that's a lot of faith that they had in you to put you into that position.
Yes, and I was like, okay, so, and it was the transitioning period that the companies needed to implement the MiFID II before the entry date. So I was like, okay, so they came to me on my desk and they said, okay, so you need to implement MiFID II in the company's procedures and policies. And I was like, okay, so I need to read this MiFID II, don't know what is that. I started reading, because it was MiFID II and it was the supplementary directives. It wasn't only one directive, it was also the supplementary at the same time. So I checked all the company's procedures, all the policies, and I started implementing, based on the articles I was reading, and then translating what I was reading into practice, what the company is doing and what we have to do. And that helped me a lot. Of course, the first 3 months, because I had 3 months to implement that. We had also the PRIP regulation at the same time. It was GDPR. I mean, it was everything. So right after the MiFID II, we had also other regulations. So the first 3 months I was suffering with headaches, from all the stress, because I felt that you took me and you threw me in deep waters and you told me, learn to swim, just like that. And I was feeling like, I felt that every day I was going home and I was like, shall I cry now or laugh?
How did you carry on? You didn't quit and you carried on. So how did you get through that? Because that's those 3 months you say about, that could have been the end for you, couldn't it? You could have said, I can't do this.
No, I was believing to myself, I was reading and I was studying at least the first 3 to 6 months, I will say, non-stop, during the night, during the morning time before I go to work, because I needed to get prepared. I had pipelines. I was setting to myself pipelines that you have to do this today. So by the end of each day, I was making a task list, what I have to read by the night and what I have to do the next morning. So, I was very organized and even putting myself into a schedule. You need to do this. So I was going day by day, thank God I survived also this day. And I said that, there is nothing that the human being cannot do. It's just to believe to yourself that you will succeed. It's okay. It's just a difficult period, you will get through it. Even though that I was feeling that I was drowning, a lot of the days, I was feeling that I was tired, I was drowning, I was stressed in all the situation and all the period of time that I was doing that. And then I got the confidence that now I can speak, with knowledge. So what I was saying, it was just confidence, And through the years, I earned this respect as head of compliance. I do believe that I know the regulation inside out and so on. Of course, it's different interpretation with the law. Sometimes you will interpret the law in this way, then the regulator in another way, but you need to build, good relationship with the regulators, with the officers that you have in contact with them, so you can have common understanding. You can explain them that this is how I interpret, maybe it's a different way, just help out. Yeah. So, it's...
Compliance is a high pressure environment, isn't it? It's very stressful. You have to learn. You sound like you're a fast learner because you were reading, you were dedicating for your studies, for the CySEC examination, but when you were thrown into the deep end in those first few roles, moving from customer service into compliance, that takes a lot of effort and patience and dedication and managing the stress. How, with all this stress in the background, how do you how can you have clarity of thought and make, you know, these decisions under such pressure? That is a skill in itself, isn't it? Keeping a clear mind.
Yes, it is, and it takes also time to teach yourself how to decompress all this pressure that you have from you. You know, it's just to feel that, okay, now it's me time, that I need to relax, I need to take my time. I always take my holidays is just switching off. Of course, being also executive director is not easy to just switch off your phone and disappear. You're always standby. However, you build a team and you have people that you trust, that they can take control, you know, not do your job because they cannot do it, of course, but at least to have your replacement, a second executive director that can replace you. And you build your teams that they can take control of the tasks, of the projects, because, okay, being also executive director to a group, you have to collaborate also with the group. So in this level, at least you know that you have your team, and I selected them, you know, each and every one with the people that I will work closely, because, you know, it's very important to trust the people that you have.
Yeah, because that's another element of the role, isn't it? It's not just understanding the rules and the regulations and keeping up to date with that. It's being able to work with people.
Exactly.
And a trusted team, because it's important, because those relationships have to be solid, because you might be across the brief, but maybe somebody else in the team needs that support or that learning, and if they make a mistake, it can be critical to the business, can't it?
Exactly. So you take also the role of mentoring at the same time. But if you manage at least to have the people that you trust, it's one way to remove the extra stress. Of course, at the period of stressful environments and stressful situations, there are times still that I was feeling that I was drowning, you know, with the things that I needed to resolve and so on. However, I go back like 10 years ago when I said, you managed back then, you cannot now. So it's just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can feel proud of myself at least.
Yeah, from going back to those first roles to now, maybe you not noticed the change because you've just been involved in it, you know, 100%. But if you're going back to that first role where you transitioned from customer service into compliance, and we're sat here now today, what would you say to that person? You know, it's going to be very stressful, but you're going to get through it and you can just persevere. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it for sure. I mean, you have the brains, you have the skills. It's just a teaching procedure, you know, so don't stress out too much.
One thing I wanted to touch on about compliance, obviously you've worked in different companies, and when you've moved into different companies, there's different regulators that they're involved in, different processes that they have to follow, because maybe they're you know, licensed with one regulator, but whereas your other company wasn't. So you're always having to learn, aren't you? There's always changes, and
yes.
they are always changing, the regulators themselves. So what about when you're at a multi-regulated company, a bit like here at Admirals, when you've got, you know, lots of different ones all around the world, some bigger than others, some maybe more strict than others. So how do you balance that when you've got one regulator saying one thing and another regulator saying another? How do you adapt, and do you go for the strictest approach first and then adapt that to the other one?
In several cases, yes, especially under AML, let's say that is an international law and is worldwide, you know, taken. It's better to take the stricter one, and then you can build upon, you know, your tree on the regulations. Then on other projects and other regulations, you go along with the project. So you separate your companies in a way and your procedures, so you can adapt with the set regulation, because it's gonna be unfair to take the stricter to also the less stricter. Yeah, so you need to balance it at the same time.
Yeah, and obviously you guys in the compliance team, you know, you have to be across everything. As I said before, it's a really important, critical role legally and everything for the company, yeah? And it can result in big fines if any mistakes are made.
Yeah.
But there's also the marketing side. So my background was in marketing when I was the content writer in those different roles. And one thing I learned when I got into the industry is very quickly you have to be across compliance. You have to understand what your company's doing. And so in that case, it can be quite frustrating from your side, maybe in the past, where you've had maybe people who aren't as educated, or they haven't been even trained properly by the company, and mistakes can happen, can't they? And you're constantly having to correct them. How do you deal with that? That might be quite frustrating from your side, because you're picking up on things that you think maybe they should already know. They should know this isn't compliant, and we can't be saying this, and we can't be promising this in certain regions.
It's a non-stop, I think, issue that you face, especially in FX industry, and especially from marketing side, because as the rest of the departments, the same goes to marketing, that we have a lot of rotating, you know, and the retention period of employees, you know, is less than 1-2 years. So every time, and what we do is that in order not to have the frustration, and the compliance team is developing in collaboration with me the training agenda. And in the training agenda, we include for all the employees, especially the marketing employees, trainings, what they can say, what they cannot say, and we have different sessions throughout the year. So maybe for marketing, we may have, and communication in general, we may have 3-4 sessions in the year, only for the marketing employees. So it's something that we train them and we educate them, because I do believe that in education, you tell them, okay, you tell them once, you tell them twice, then you understand that there is not a common understanding, so I need to put them all together and explain, you know, this is, and allow them to make questions to the trainer, let's say, and the trainer is one of the compliance persons. So they can do, we do also Q&A sessions on marketing, what they can say, they ask us questions, they come back. So we have also this, by each training session that we do, we have a QA period. So they can place their questions, we can answer them, they can give us scenarios, we give them scenarios so they can answer. So it's an interactive process.
So your background in sociology and criminology at university is an interesting background before you got into Forex. I think maybe you've taken that into the Forex industry, haven't you? In the way that you deal with people in the team and in compliance and listening and understanding what they're saying. I think that's an important part of what you've been doing.
Actually it is. I mean, both of the degrees that I made, either the bachelor or the master, even though that they're very similar but different fields. I mean, from sociology, I can translate the problem, and the problem, it always needs to go back to the root, and that was the sociology teaches you, is that you need to go back to the root. Where is the problem, and not the surface? So, and this is something that I'm also doing in the FX industry, and probably that's why I'm good of what I'm doing, you know. With criminology and criminal psychology, basically, because one of the things that we have been taught is profiling and interviewing. So it's for me, it's like an automatic thing when I'm seeing someone or when I'm reading something to do specific profiling, and it helped me a lot with interviewing people. That's why I have, you know, chosen, I do believe, the right people of being in my team. Because I can, you know, read the people. I mean, I can do a profile for them, and I can interview them. I can do the reverse interviewing, so I can get.
And you can adapt to their how they work, and
yeah.
That's an important part, and that's probably helped you develop as you've moved along. You've got that in the back of your mind from those skills at university.
Yes.
Very transferable in a way. So let's move it back to where we are now. We're in Cyprus. We're in an office of a major Forex brokerage in Cyprus, one of many. Now, Cyprus has really developed, hasn't it, in the last 10 years or so, in terms of Forex brokerages, fintech companies. You know, why do you think that is, and what do you think it means to the Cypriot economy? It's quite a big industry for a small island, isn't it, in the Mediterranean?
Yes, and we shouldn't also forget that it was the FX industry that supported the young people during unemployment sessions that we had and long-term unemployment due to the financial crisis. So FX industry was the number one that has absorbed the young people and the people that they have just finished universities, just came back. So it was the one that helped at least to put your pillars into the economy and then attract foreign investors, other foreign investors, and to build the real estate, for example. That came after, you know, and we need to, you know, appreciate, you know, because we hear a lot about the FX industry. Okay, I understand there are a lot of scammers, but not the regulated entities, not the entities that are authorized and licensed, because our regulators are, you know, scrutinizing us. They have strong foundations and strong directives and the regulations to control and supervise these entities. So, okay, I mean, I do understand people, what they're saying about FX industry and so on, but it supports a lot the economy, and it absorbs and employs a lot of people, both Cypriots and European citizens and third country citizens.
Yeah, I was going to say that because obviously in my time, I'm a foreigner, I'm from the UK, I came over here into the industry, you know, and I've enjoyed my time working in the industry, but in the brokerages I've been in, there's been a nice mix. There's been Cypriots, there's been people who are from other countries, not just in senior positions, but, you know, in the marketing teams, in customer service, that sort of thing. When it comes to Cypriots, I mean, obviously we're quite a small country here in terms of population and people. That can help. They're always talking about, the government's always talking here about bringing Cypriots back, you know, talent from the diaspora back to the island. I think there's some really talented Cypriot people in the industry, and that's really helped Cyprus, isn't it, for the local people?
Yes, yes. And I do believe that a part of the taxation, the corporate tax and social insurance payments and so on that are lower than other countries, let's say, one of the attractive part that they have been choosing also Cyprus is about the human resources, because we have centralized a lot of specialized employees, and Cypriots and non-Cypriots, you know, for me it's just all the people, you know. But yeah, we have a centralized human resources and specialists in the market. I mean, you cannot go in any other country, a part of, let's say, UK, I would say, that has the same levels, let's say, but UK is UK, you know, it's a huge country. In comparison with Cyprus, that is a small island, you know. But yeah, I mean, we have centralized the people here. And
it's obviously not just Forex brokerages. Some people might say, oh, you know, there's broker here, broker there, but it's the fintechs, the service providers who service these brokers and meet at these events and things like that. That's more employment opportunities for people on this island, isn't it?
Exactly, because when you have the Forex industry, you have also the auditors, the accountants, human resources that are outsourced.
It's a big network.
Yes, you have fintech companies, platform providers, PSPs, banks. You have so many other providers. You have, you know, your consultants, your business consultants, compliance consultants, this and that. I mean, you support a lot of other firms that these firms are giving jobs to other people, you know, so you have a constant opening of jobs.
And going forwards, I'm interested in the future. We're all interested in the future of this industry, our industry that we've been working in. Obviously, there's other areas, there's other hubs, as they call it, like Dubai, places like this springing up, okay? How does Cyprus compete with places like Dubai? They have a tax-friendly regime, as we know, and they have other incentives for workers. And I do see a lot of roles come up in Dubai, you know, in Forex, and they might attract people away from Cyprus. How do you think Cyprus can stay competitive against the backdrop of places like Dubai springing up? It's an interesting development, isn't it?
It is, but for a financial entity, let's say, okay, you have a corporate tax of 9% in Dubai. only, which is, it changed in 2023, it was 0 and it moved to 9%. But the employees over there, they don't have the taxation. But trust me, you pay tax in Dubai in other ways. You pay through your food, through your rents, whatever you do, you pay extra. So that extra is what we call tax. So actually you pay it, it's just, it's not labeled tax.
It's more hidden taxes that is,
exactly.
come along with life.
Plus, you know, okay, Cyprus now is becoming more and more expensive, but in comparison to Dubai, of course, you choose Cyprus. Safety, in both of the countries you can find it. But I do believe that Cyprus is, as an island, it's more like a close community, and you can have your family here, you know, and you feel more relaxed. It's not the big cities that it gives you more stress, you know, living in big cities in general. Maybe that's why they're choosing Cyprus, but I know a lot of people that are going also to Dubai, either for working or opening their companies in Emirates. But you know, you need to consider also geopolitical situations and many other cultural differences.
The interesting thing from your side personally, you're obviously a high performing individual, you've worked your way up and you've performed for many years in these senior roles. Having this industry here has helped you stay in Cyprus. You've not had to go to a financial centre, maybe in Germany, UK, US, something like this, you know, or even Dubai, let's say, you know, where it's growing financially.
Yes.
So that's helped you stay, you know, build a life here, you know, stay close to your family and friends in Cyprus. And so that's been something really good for you, that this industry has grown in Cyprus because you've been able to stay here and perform well in a high performing role.
Yes, yes. Because, okay, I came back from UK when I was finishing my studies, but even in UK had a recession. I mean, everything was everywhere. It was like a really bad situation at the time. But, you know, I came back and it was the only thriving industry at the time. So yes, it helped me to stay in my country, near my family. You know, you start a new life, also as a young couple with my husband, and building our family, having our son, you know, it's, you feel more safe in your country. And Cyprus gives you that, this, to feel calm and peaceful. This is
I agree, having lived here for the time that I've been here. So going forwards, we've said about the development of the Forex industry, the importance of it, about the challenges and maybe places like Dubai and elsewhere. How do you see it? How do you see the future of Forex in Cyprus? I mean, do you think it will stay the same? Do you think it will adapt and maybe there'll be less brokerages here, or do you think it might just continue growing? What do you see the future looking like?
We have seen a small stability the couple of years. You know, we have seen a lot of exits from Cyprus, but the last couple of years we have seen a steady number, you know, of not growing and not reducing. It's a bit worrying, because if you have something steady, that means that it either will fall. Usually this is how it goes. But I mean, the majority of the Forex industry participants, they want the European Union entity, and Cyprus is number one to build it. But I don't know. It seems that it's somewhere, you know, in steady environment. Hopefully it will go up and we will have more companies.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Yes, for all the people.
Yeah, for everybody. So final question, Joanna. So you've been in this industry, as we've been talking about, for quite a number of years now, you know, and moved up into the roles as we've discussed. What still, after all these years, what still gets you up in the morning, ready to go to work in the Forex industry?
I love my job. I love my job. I'm very passionate about my job. You know, it's one of the most important things, to love your job, to love what you're doing. And this is amazing, you know. I can go out, drink the previous night, wake up and come with my smile and full of energy to do my job. It's amazing.
That's brilliant. That's a great way to end it on.
Yeah.
That you enjoy the industry and it's served you well and you're going to continue growing.
Yes.
Like we all are. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed watching this latest episode of the Forex Diaries. Please like and subscribe and share with all your friends and family and colleagues. It'll be great. It really helped me grow the channel. So thanks for watching and see you on the next video.